Hello, everyone, and welcome again to JWStruggle. We're doing yet another interview, and I am happy to announce that we have a friend with us named Jeana today. And Jeana has been out roughly 10 years or so. She woke up to the truth about 3 years ago. And Jeana has seen a lot of different things. Before we introduce her, I just want to mention one commonality that I'm starting to see is that so many of these folks that talk to me and that give their stories, it always seems to revolve around the elders telling them what to do, the elders getting involved in their business, the elders trying to run their lives, be their consciences. And Jeana's story has a lot of interesting twists to it, but yet again, you'll see that theme of how the elders seem to constantly be stepping in on the little people, us regular old publishers' lives, again and again and again. So, at any rate, Jeana, thank you so much for letting us interview you. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful.
I can tell. You know, folks, before we started the interview, when Jeana and I were saying our hellos, she was so excited. She just started rolling into one of her stories, and I had to stop her and say, hold on, let's get ready and record this.
Yes?
All right. So look, I'm going to assume, Jeana, you were probably raised around the witness truth. Is that so?
I was born in. So my mom became a Jehovah's Witness. Actually, she started studying in 74, around 75, and then was baptized. And I was born in 83, so I was born in.
Okay. And so would you say that your life being raised as a witness was pretty typical? And how did that go as a child?
Well, my mom met my dad long before she became a witness, and then after she became a witness, my dad was so in love with her, and she basically told him, hey, you can't marry me unless you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so he did. They got married, and he really took to the religion because he's a very good speaker, and he's very studious, and in no time he became an elder. So my childhood consisted of being that elder's daughter. I have two older siblings, and so I have an older brother and an older sister, and my dad was the presiding overseer. So we were very highly looked upon, how they say the rank and file. We were pretty much in that category, with my dad being a presiding overseer.
Yeah, you had to be like an extra good example. You were under the microscope. You were in the spotlight. Was that hard growing up, being kind of in that special family?
Well, interestingly enough, when my dad was an elder in his, I guess you could say, the peak of being an elder, and he was a presiding overseer, my sister was the one who experienced that more than me. And yes, she definitely had to be perfect and, do everything perfect because she was the example. I was small. My dad was an elder in the mid to late 70s and early 80s, and I was born in 83. So I only got to, I was a baby. I really didn't have too much pressure because he ended up getting out of the cult in 85. So, but my sister had it more than me, of course. She definitely got the brunt of it.
Ah, I see. Interesting. Now, 1985 comes, you're just a little one, and so you probably don't remember a whole lot of all that, but what was the story then as to why your dad got out, and how did that affect you growing up?
Well, my dad, he finally, I guess, he started to see things, because, being an elder, and he knows all about the shepherd's book, I believe it's called, we talked about that.
Yep.
And he just saw a lot of things that he just thought were inconsistent, and he didn't like. And, my dad, like I said, is very studious, and he's also very outspoken. And if he doesn't like something, or if he thinks that something isn't right or is, unjustified, he's going to voice his opinion. And that was not looked upon very well with the circuit overseer, because he was the presiding overseer, so everybody pretty much followed what he did. And the circuit overseer didn't like how vocal my dad was about things. And I think that kind of gave him a target on his back a little bit. So he started not hanging around with all the other elders as much, and started hanging around with my uncles who were familiar with Jehovah's Witnesses but were not witnesses. And he started drinking more and smoking weed, and my mom, interestingly enough, is the one who told on my dad. She told on her own husband to the other elders of the congregation.
Well, that's not uncommon, and of course, it sounds like, of course, I wasn't there, but I know what it's like to be a JW elder and be the unpopular one as well, because I was always opening my mouth until I finally stepped down and got away. But it sounds like your dad was maybe coping with all the stuff he was going through the only way he knew how, and that's by medicating himself, by using whatever he could use. It's a pity that
Right.
that sometimes happens. So your mom informs on him, and then I'm assuming did he get disfellowshipped then?
Not yet, because a lot of the other elders, it was a very, very small congregation. I'm talking about maybe about 50 publishers in a small town in Texas, because that's where we're originally from. And at first, they didn't really want to, not that they didn't want to believe my mom, but they really respected my dad, the other elders, on the judicial committee or whatever. And so they wanted to give him a chance. And so he just said, okay, fine, I'll step down. And so he did that. But he still wasn't free. He still didn't feel any better. He just wasn't an elder. So he was still surrounded by all of this, doctrine that he didn't believe in, and he still wasn't free. So he began to miss more and more meetings and, caused problems with my mom and him in their marriage because he did not want to be a Jehovah's Witness.
Right, makes sense. So now, where do you come in on all of this? I mean, you're trying to do what your mom was telling you to do, and did you get baptized pretty young? And how were you in the religion?
So in about 88, my dad was disfellowshipped in 85. I was about 2 years old, and so in 88, 3 years later, I just turned 5. We moved to California, where I currently reside now. And my dad, it was really, really hard for my dad because all my dad has ever known was Texas, and then you throw him in a state that he is not familiar. He doesn't know anyone. He has no friends. And what happened was my mom knew some witnesses that lived in California that she's known for a really long time. We're just going to call the brother Elder M, because he was an elder. And they told my mom, okay, you want to save your family, you want to save your marriage, you want to bring your husband back into the truth, move to California. So, of course, my mom thought that was the best for us, so she convinced my dad to move. And so he did, and it just was really hard for him. He hated it, and he was missing even more and more meetings. And Elder M was the one who told my mom, that if he doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, then you need to tell him to leave the house. So my mom kicked my dad out. And me being as small as I was about 5 years old, and I remember that night, actually, when it happened. I was so upset, and I remember her reading these scriptures and talking to my sister and I and telling us that she's protecting us, that, Jehovah's Holy Spirit is not in the house because, my dad was bringing in Satan's spirit. And I love my dad. Nothing that my mom could say could take that away, but I followed what she said, that this is what was best for us. So he ends up leaving in 88, leaving the house. And it was a little difficult for me, really difficult for my sister. And then if we fast forward a little bit, my brother, it was harder for him because all of a sudden he had to step up into this father role, this man of the house role. And he was baptized, I believe, in 89, so a year later, at 18, he was baptized. And it was a little, I want to say, I think, shocking for him, all the responsibilities he then had because he was baptized. And a year after he was baptized, he was disfellowshipped because it was just, the pressure was too much for him.
Oh, my.
And Elder M told my mom that since my brother was disfellowshipped and he did not want to, follow the rules of the house and Jehovah's rules, that he would need to leave the house. So my mom listened to Elder M and removed my brother from the house. So now it was just my sister and I. And at this time, I was about 8 years old. So I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, okay, I better be a good girl because she is just knocking them off like flies. And then in 92, my sister, my mom always said she never had the truth in her heart. She never made it her own. Well, my sister ended up pregnant in 93, and she was still seeing the baby's father. Well, Elder M came over to talk to my sister, and he tells her, you don't have to put the father's name on the birth certificate, because then that means that he'll have rights to the child if his name is on the birth certificate. And my sister thought that was disgusting and appalling, and she says, no, he will have his name. He wants to be part of his life, and he wants to be part of my life. So, with the admonishment of Elder M, he told my mom to remove my sister from the house to protect me, and that's what my mom did. And at that time, I was 10 years old. So I've seen all of this over the past 7 years, and I'm like, okay, I really need to make sure that I'm in line. And so, because of everything that my mom had gone through, we moved back to Texas because my mom said that she lost her whole family in California, and it would just be better if we moved back. So her and I, moved back to Texas in 1994. And a year later, I was baptized at 12 years old.
Okay, and then you lived happily ever after, right?
I wish that was the case, but no, actually, I always had little doubts, but I really wanted to please my mom, and I saw everything that she had went through, and it was so hard for her. I felt like, oh my goodness, this poor lady, she's lost her husband, she's lost her, her son, her daughter. I wanted to make sure that I didn't cause any more hurt on my mom. And so I started auxiliary pioneering, like right after I was baptized for like a whole year. I would go, let me just tell you how devoted I was to this. I would go out in service and do calls, early morning calls before school, maybe an hour. So school started at 8. I was out at 7. I would go out in service after school. So school ended at about 3 o'clock. I was out in service from 3 until it got dark. And then all day on Saturday, on Sunday after the meeting, to make sure that I got all my time in. And I did that for about a year. And it was so hard for me. I mean, I was in middle school. I was in the 7th grade doing this. And it was very, very hard. And 8th grade year came, and I told my mom, I'm not ready to auxiliary pioneer this year. I don't think I can do it. And she said, okay. She knew it was hard. And I was still maintaining like a 3.5 GPA. So I was still doing all my work. It was just so hard for me studying for all the meetings. And so I didn't auxiliary pioneer anymore after that, after the year of it being shoved up my throat. And then about in 97, we'd been in Texas for 3 years. I told my mom, I think it's time to move back. And I knew at that time that it was not the truth. I knew there was nothing I could do because, I didn't want to be out on the street because I thought for sure my mom would kick me out or it would just be horrible. So I convinced her that I had gotten light and blessings from Jehovah for us to move back to California, and she believed it, and so we moved. Because she was so engrossed in the religion that she said, well, we're not going to move unless we have sure signs from Jehovah that this is what he wants to do. So I made sure that there were sure signs from Jehovah. That's very sad that I'm admitting that, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. So you wanted to go back to California or at least get out of Texas, and you were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were around 17 or so at this time?
Oh, no. At this time, I was only 14.
Excuse me.
14.
My math was off. So you said, I need you to go back for just a little bit. You said that at this point, you knew in your heart that it wasn't the truth. Now, how in the world would a 13 or 14-year-old girl have figured that out?
Well, interestingly enough, I just have always been that kid that's just observed everything. And I said, if this is the truth, what kind of religion breaks up a family? What kind of religion tells a wife to throw her husband out on the street with nothing? What kind of a religion makes a woman throw her daughter, who is pregnant, because my sister was pregnant, out of the house? Where my sister had to go live with her in-laws, and just a little side note, she is still with her baby's father. My brother-in-law and her have been together since she was 17.
Oh, so, bless her heart. Yeah. Good for them.
What kind of a religion does that? So those were already in my mind. And I also remember my mom and my cousin having a conversation, my cousin who's a Jehovah's Witness, having a conversation about death serum. And, you know, I don't remember too many details, but I remember my mom telling my cousin, you know, because they were the same age, you better not talk about that. You better not let the brothers hear you even bring that up. And I didn't know too much, but there was just little things here and there that I would see or that I would hear, and I just said, you know what, this can't be right. This just can't be right. So that's when I started to see things that were inconsistent for me. And yeah, I was pretty young, but I'm an observer. That's what I'm going to trump that up to.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, so you and your mom moved back to California, and does your mom finally get married again, or find a brother, or what goes on when you come back to California?
So when we come back to California, my mom, she didn't really have a good enough plan, because she really wanted to come back too. And it was pretty much like, well, let's just pack up everything and leave. So she didn't have an apartment or anything ready. And so we went over to dinner to Elder M's house. Now, she's known Elder M for years, and he's been counseling her for years. So we went over to Elder M's house, and his wife was very sick, and she had lupus at the time. And it was just the two of them. Their kids were grown and married. And so we went over there for dinner, and Elder M said, you know, we've been talking about you and Jeana staying with us, because I think that it would be a great help. You know, you and Jeana can help us and help, you know, his wife, who was very sickly. She couldn't clean, couldn't cook. And so my mom and I were going to be caregivers for them. And the rent was going to be very cheap, and everything was going to be taken care of. And it looked, at the time, like a wonderful opportunity. But I'm a married woman, and I would not want a single woman and her daughter living with my husband, and that's just all I'm going to say on that. So when my mom agreed and said, okay, yeah, you know, I think that's a great idea, so we moved in. I had my own bedroom. My mom had her own room. We had our own bathroom. It was a big house, so it was enough room for all of us. And I just remember kind of thinking, like, I don't know about this. I don't know. I had a bad feeling. And I was proved right, because I noticed that Elder M would start flirting with my mom. And it was very peculiar, because this one particular time, he was chasing her around the kitchen, and when he finally caught up to her, he slapped her on the butt. And I thought to myself, what kind of elder does that? Secondly, what kind of married man does that with his wife upstairs sickly? Who does that? And that's kind of when, you know, all these signs were compiling that something's not right, especially with my mom and Elder M at that time, I thought. And so it was about, I believe, 98, 99, and my mom told me that my cousin, who lived in Texas, had called the elders on her at Elder M. And I was completely, like, surprised. Like, why? You know? And she goes, well, she said that me and Elder M kissed. And I said, what? And she said, yeah. Can you believe that? And she goes, I told her it was a dream that I had. It was just a dream. I said, well, why would, first of all, my cousin has a big mouth. You don't want to tell her anything that you don't want it to come out. So I said, well, why would you even tell her something like that you had a dream that you and him kissed? like, well, I don't know. I didn't want to say anything to you. Well, you know I'm a closed book, because that is one thing that I always been very true to, that I do not, I don't tell, I don't tattletale, I don't snitch, or whatever words you want to use. That's not me. So I told her, I'm like, why didn't you tell me I wouldn't have said anything? She goes, well, because, this is grown-up stuff, because I was only 17 at the time. And so the elders talked to Elder N and my mom, and they convinced the elders that it was just a dream, there was no funny business going on, and that, that my cousin has always been jealous of my mom, and that really didn't happen, and so they dismissed it. They never said anything about it. So that summer, we went to Texas, and my cousin, being this busybody, she says, oh, so what did the elders do? Did your mom get removed? Did the elder get removed? What's going on? And I looked at her and kind of brushed it off, and was like, what are you talking about? Nothing. And so she says, what? No, something had to happen about the kid. And I was like, there was no kid. It was a dream. She told him that it was a dream. That's all. And she enlightened me and told me, I'm sorry, I would never call and tell on a dream. They really did, kid. So that night I confronted my mom, and she confirmed it, that they had kissed, and that it was never going to happen again, and that we were going to be moving out into our own house because there were feelings there, and she had no right to have feelings for him because he was married. So when we got back to California, we moved out. And I never said anything, because again, that was never me. And that we moved out, and things seemed normal for a while. I say for a while.
Okay.
And then about, let me see, maybe it was my senior year, so it was in April of my senior year, so it was April of 2001. So we had already moved out, things seemed normal. But I had began having more and more doubts, and as I began to grow up and see things even more clear, I knew at that point that I was no longer going to be a witness. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just knew I was no longer going to be a Jehovah's Witness. We had moved again to a different town, away even from the elder, because they still had feelings for one another on this. Because I remember coming home from school one day, and my mom didn't go to work, and Elder N happened to be at our house. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like, okay, you guys shouldn't even be alone in the same room. If you've already made out with one another, you should not be alone. But I didn't really say anything. I just went to my room. And so my mom was beginning to have even more feelings for him. So we even changed and moved out of the congregation, moved to a totally different town, about 30 minutes away from where we were living. And we would still go to our book study, but we would go to a different meeting. Like I forget how they used to word it back then, but we were registered, I guess you can say, at the new congregation, but we still go to the old congregation all the time. So this particular night, we were going to book study, and I didn't have clothes. I purposefully left my clothes at home because I did not want to go to the meeting, but my mom said, oh, no, I'll go buy you a dress. So fine, whatever, go buy me a dress. So we went, and she bought me a skirt and a shirt, and we went back to Elder M's house because he was our book study conductor, and his wife was there. And she, told me, we'll go try it on, make sure the skirt's long enough, because it was a shorter skirt. She was make sure it's long enough, it comes to your knees, and come out and let me see it. So at this time, I put the clothes on, and I looked in the mirror, so I was like, okay. I go out to let her see it, and I'm walking towards their kitchen. Facing me, they have a curio cabinet. So the curio cabinets usually have mirrors inside, so that when you put your items in, they can be displayed beautifully.
Right.
So I'm walking, and I'm looking in the reflection of the curio cabinet, because the curio cabinet is reflecting what's going on in the kitchen. And I'm walking towards the curio cabinet. And I see two people, passionately embraced in one another. And as I keep walking, and I'm looking closer, it's my mom and Elder M, and they're making out in the kitchen. And I didn't say anything. I was disgusted. I started shaking. You know, this is my whole life. Everything that I ever thought is now, it's all lie. I remember just walking very slowly and peeking my head around, making sure that my eyes weren't playing tricks on me. And sure enough, they were embraced in a passionate kiss. And I just walked out of the kitchen, and I walked into the back room where his wife was on her oxygen machine, because at this point her lupus had progressed to where she needed oxygen. And she looked at me and she goes, "You look like you've seen a ghost." And I just brushed it off. And I remember going to book study that night, and Elder M was the conductor, and I just said, I can't wait to get out. I am done. It is over. Because, and one of the big reasons why is because I had a worldly boyfriend. And someone told on me that I was hugging him. And when the elders came to talk to me, I was pretty popular in school, so I just blamed it on that. Oh, well, I'm popular. People like me. Guys want to hug me. It's no big deal. And the elders said, okay, well, you know, you should be hugging guys. After that happened, I said, you know what? I'm going to do right, you know, because this is that brainwash mentality. I'm going to do right. I broke up with my boyfriend. I was going to do right by Jehovah, I thought. And, so when I saw the elder and my mom making out, I was so upset because I was going to reconform. And I just felt so let down in the sense that I was lied to. I felt I was lied to my whole entire life. How can you tell me not to do something when you're doing something way worse than me? Way worse than what I was doing. And that's when I was like, oh no, if this was the truth, this would not be happening. And I began to draft my exit plan to get out at that point. So that's when I began to start getting headaches. I have a headache. I don't want to go to the meeting. I have a stomach ache. I say that loosely because I really did not have a headache. I was just using excuses. And I began to just stay that way because I knew I had turned 18 already, and I didn't want anything shoved down my throat. My mom kind of figured that I had found out because I just began to drastically change towards her. I was once this loving child. Me and my mom were like best friends, and then I hated her. She repulsed me, and she knew that I had seen her, and so she didn't push me to go to the meetings. She finally confronted me, and I said, yeah, I saw you and him, and the elder came over and talked to me, and he told me, I love your mother. And this is the hilarious part. He goes, I love your mother, and Jehovah has put us together because he knows that my wife is dying, and he has put us together. And I will never forget the look that I had on my face when I was looking at him, like, this is complete and utter bullcrap. You know you're lying through your teeth. You were trying to say it's a blessing from God that you and my mom are committing adultery. And I just was like, okay, whatever. I think I pretty much said whatever just to shut him up and to get him out of my house because he disgusted me at that point.
Right.
And he goes, and this is where another double standard comes in. He goes, but you can never tell. And I looked at him. I said, I would never tell. But I just want to hear why you don't want me to tell. And he's like, well, because, it'll just, I'm an elder, and I will lose my position within the congregation. My wife will take everything from me. She will turn everyone against me, so you can never tell. I said, I wasn't ever going to tell, but your reasoning is hilarious. And that was one of the last things that I said to him. Had a full-on conversation face-to-face.
Now, Jeana, if I can interject, there's going to be some people that are going to say, well, look, just because they were imperfect doesn't mean that the whole religion is bad. That is an argument that the witnesses love to use when anyone cites a terrible indiscretion like this. Now, we're going to suspend the fact that they claim elders are appointed by Holy Spirit and all of this. But I am going to ask you that question. What would you say to somebody if they said, look, you didn't need to leave Jehovah just because one imperfect man was abusing his power. I mean, how would you answer that?
I would answer that as in the sense of, look what this religion did to my family. Elder M is the same elder that told my mom to leave my dad and to kick him out.
Ah.
Elder M is the same elder that told my mom to kick my brother out. He's the same elder that told my mom to kick my sister out and told my sister not to put my brother-in-law on the birth certificate. So what kind of religion will break up families? Break up a family which, even though my sister was young, it was still her family that she had with her husband. Why would he want to break that up? They created a child together. What kind of religion would do that? And it wasn't just him. Granted, Elder M was the driver of it, but there were also the other elders that were involved in that meeting. It was never just a one-on-one, but he was. My mom always went to him, and then he would bring along his, crony or whoever at the time was shepherding us. But most of the time, it was Elder M who gave all of the counsels. And this religion broke up our family, and he had the backing of the other elders. So that's what I'll say to that.
Well, you've convinced me. That's a very good point. Yeah, it's a good point that you're making. I just, I mean, of course, you're preaching to the choir here, Jeana, but I do want to be objective about it. There's legitimate reasons why we do the things that we do, and particularly those of us that have awakened to TAT, that have escaped the mind control of the Watchtower and the Jehovah's Witness religion. We need to have answers, and we need to understand why we've gotten out, and we need to be sure, because I know I had a friend of mine for a couple of years. He and I had gotten out around the same time, and every so often he'd say, "Are you sure? I mean, I'm having doubts. I mean, I don't know if maybe we're wrong." And I'm like, no, we're not wrong. We're not wrong. And these are the kinds of things that can help a person solidify it in their own mind and in their own convictions, and that's why I think it's good that we're kind of disassembling it a little bit, maybe analyzing it a little bit. Okay, so now this all happens. He tells you never to tell. You're a young woman now, and what happened from that point? Were you trying to get out of the house, or find an apartment, or what happened next?
Well, after that, my mom wanted to sell the house that we were living in, which was fine by me because I wanted to get as far away from her as I could. And I ended up moving in with my sister in 2001. So it was, I think the summer of 2001 actually is when I moved in with my sister, late summer. And I moved in with my sister, and after that, I never went to the meetings again. I never went out in service again. And then in 2002, my mom was, as they say, weak because she felt so horrible what she was doing to Jehovah, having this affair. Or not even, at this point, I don't think they have full on had the affair. They were just, messing around. And I'm not sure if people know what I mean. And I remember her asking me in 2002 if she was going to get another house back in the town that I grew up in, and here in California, and if I would move back in with her. And I said, okay, but I'm not going to the meetings. And she goes, no, I'm not going to make you go to the meetings. And I said, okay. So I moved back in with her, and so did my best friend, who was also an ex-JW. And we lived with my mom, and at this point, I had already met my husband, who I'm married to now, but I was dating him, and there was nothing bad. My mom still had her beliefs, and she didn't go to the meetings because she felt so guilty, but she never pushed it off on me. And I can genuinely say I missed my mom being like that. And so in 2002, Elder M moved to Texas because his wife was dying, and she's from that area. That's how my mom knows her from such a long time ago. And she wanted to die, where she was 2002, he was calling, Elder M was calling my mom practically every day, trying to convince her to move back to Texas. Now, I had just moved back in with my mom, so, we were like, no, don't do it. And, he was counseling my mom, telling her that me and my best friend did not care about her, and she needed to move somewhere where people cared about her, and not in the, with me, and not in the house that we were living in, because she's never going to get any kind of spiritual healing that she needed, because she was spiritually sick. She was never going to get that living in the house with my best friend and I, because we were not practicing. And so she decides to move to Texas, back to Texas, up and moved back to Texas in 2003, and left my best friend and I to find places to stay. My best friend had to move back in with her Jehovah's Witness mother, and I moved back in with my sister, who is not the Jehovah's Witness. And my mom left us. And that was really, really hard for me, because I thought at that point that my mom and I were at least beginning to have a relationship again. And I felt that when she decided to move, that she obliterated that. So when she moved back in 2003, I go on with my life. And I remember her calling me, and this was about 2 years later in 2005, and I'd seen her, and she was trying to go back to the meetings, but it just wasn't working out. She just felt so guilty how she was living. And she called me, and she's upset. And I said, well, what's wrong? And she said, well, Pat, which was Elder M's wife, has passed away. And I said, well, at least, I said, well, you knew this was coming, and, now you and Elder M will not have to hide anymore. And, she was already in a nursing home, and it just got really bad for her, because Elder M could not take care of her. And I said, so, this is probably the best thing. And my mom said, well, I feel really guilty. And I said, well, why do you feel so guilty? I mean, you've had all these years to feel guilty, and now you just all of a sudden just know, because the night that she died, him and I worked together. And I said, well, what does that mean? She goes, well, what do you think it means?
Yeah, together.
Yeah. And I just remember, I was silent. I had no words. What do you say to that? And I didn't even know how to feel, let alone how am I going to console her. When at one point I'm like, that is horrible. And so I said, well, I don't know what to say about that. I said, well, how's Elder M doing? Oh, he's just so upset. And I said, okay. Time went by. Now, granted, we've known this was going to happen for years. She was just wasting away. Lupus is a disease that slowly kills you. So we knew this was going to happen. So for him to be as upset as my mom was saying, okay, I got it. I understood. It was now real that she was gone. Well, months went by, and he was still secretly seeing my mother. And I thought at this point, okay, well, he's free to marry. Why is he not doing what he's supposed to do? I knew the rules, in the cult. I know how it works. And so I asked my mom, what's going on? Time has gone by. It's still 2005, maybe months at this time. And I said, what's going on? And so she said, well, he said he needs more time. He's still grieving. I'm sorry. I call bull on that. Because you've had how many years to grieve? You were having an affair. You had an affair the night that you actually had the affair the night that she died. Maybe there was some guilt there too. So
well, and also
maybe I'm being critical.
And also, among the witnesses, appearances are so important. So
right.
He can't just immediately start shacking up or get married with your mother, because the witnesses would frown upon him turning around and immediately getting married. So for appearance sake, he would have to at least have a little time go by. But who knows what's going through their heads at this point? The whole thing is
right.
is kind of odd, to say the least. So, did they eventually get married, or did they eventually get DF'd, or what ended up happening?
So my mother's a very sentimental person, and so she ends up writing him a letter telling Elder M how much she loves him and that she's willing to wait until the new world if that's what it takes, and she wants to be with him. She goes over to his house to give him the letter, and she sees two people on the couch, and she could tell there's two because looks like he's on top of the couch or laying down, but his head's moving around. And she thought that was odd, so she gets up closer, and Elder M is making out on the couch with a sister from their congregation.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh. My mom knocks on the door, and he gets up really fast, and he doesn't realize that my mom has been watching him. And I asked my mom, well, how long were you watching them? She's like, I don't know. She's crying. Like, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're torturing yourself for that long? I'm sorry, I wouldn't have done it that long. But so she knocks on the window to get his attention. He gets up and, fixes himself, and he comes to the door and treats her like she's a stranger. Well, what are you doing here? And she goes, well, I came to give you this. And she hands him a letter. And he's like, well, I've got company, and, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And swiftly shoos her away. She leaves, and she calls me crying and upset. And I'm livid. I am livid. I'm so upset because, my mom had not. She was a good, good Jehovah's Witness up until being with him. She never was with any other man other than my dad. So for 13 years, my mom was not with anyone. And then she gets with him, and this is what he does to her. I was so upset. So I called him, and I gave him a piece of my mind and told him exactly how I felt. And that was the last time that I had talked to him over the phone. I have not talked to him since. And I just pretty much told him that if he ever came near my mother. My dad lives in Texas now, and actually my dad lives about a town over from him. I said, I will call my dad. And my dad is still very protective over my mom. He still loves her very much. They share children together. And I said, I will call my dad, and I'll tell him exactly what you did to my mom, and you'll be sorry. And that was the last time I ever spoke to him. And my mother, though, she was a woman scorned, and she went to the elders. Uh-oh. And she told them everything. She told them dates, times, witnesses, people who may have saw. She even said I saw them kissing to validate. Because when the elders confronted Elder M, he said my mom was convoluted in the head, that she was lying, that she's always been obsessed with him. Ever since she moved to California in 88, that she moved to California because she was obsessed with him. In 88, when we all moved as a family, this is what he's telling the elders. And I know that for a fact because the elders called me and asked me. And, at this point, I was so upset what he did to my mom. Oh, I sung like a bird. I told him everything. And, of course, they tried to witness and get me to come back to the Kingdom Hall. And I was like, yeah, that's a lost cause, but thank you anyway. I was so upset because I'm like, how could he say that it was all a lie, that it's all in my mom's head, and making it sound like my mom's some obsessive, crazy person. And so they had a special judicial committee, and I love saying this because listen to this sentence, a special judicial committee, and there was a brother that they sent, that the society sent to be on that committee because he was a brother that could crack hard cases. And I looked at my mom, is he investigating something? What case is he trying to crack? Is he a detective? She goes, well, it's his word against mine, and it involves an elder. They send this brother. My mom ended up getting privately reproved because she told, and she was so sorry. Granted, I know my mom felt guilty, and a lot of that has to do, of course, with the brainwashing and the programming. So my mom did really feel bad for what she had done. Her motives behind telling, I'm just going to leave that one, based on opinion. Because my opinion, I think she told because she felt scorned. But we're going to leave that alone. But the elder was disfellowshipped because he denied it and denied it and denied it. And I was a witness in the sense of them making out and kissing, and I had been there to see other things, him slapping her on the butt, him hugging her, just conduct that should not have been between a man and a woman. Even me not being in a religion, I would not want my husband doing what he did to another woman. So he was disfellowshipped, and he was removed as an elder. And he ended up marrying the sister who he was making out with, who is only 5 years older than me. So I'm 30, she's 35, he's in his 70s, and they have 2 children together now.
My.
Mm-hmm.
So the upshot of it all, I guess, is that you have a relationship with your mom now. Your mom's doing better, I hope, or is that still...
Well, you know how it is. When you are disciplined, you can either leave a religion or you immerse yourself even more into the doctrine to where you become holier than thou. And that is my mother now. Because she felt that Jehovah saved her, that all of this happened for a reason. It was, because of him, and that she just even got more and more indoctrinated. I say that they reprogrammed her because, I think all those backroom meetings, that's what they were doing, and they don't realize it. And the elder ended up moving to a different congregation, and he ended up getting reinstated, and then now is an elder again. And
Wait, hold on. No, you just threw me for a loop. Elder M is still an elder again.
Yes, he is.
Whoa.
Yes, he is. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that Holy Spirit sure knows what it's doing.
Because, and they said, as my mom, she questioned it when it happened. She called the congregation, and they said since they had gotten a witness from an inactive person, being me, that I could have been lying because I was not practicing in the religion.
So they threw yours out because you weren't a card-carrying J-Dub enough for them.
Exactly. So my testimony and what he did and what I saw was null and void.
Crazy.
And my mother, she is, like I said, me and her, our relationship is even more strained than it's ever been before. Because in 2008, my boyfriend, who I've been with since 2002, proposed. And my mother is a florist. And I asked her, I said, hey, I was so excited he proposed in Hawaii. As soon as I came back to the States, I said, I called her up, and she already knew because I had already told her, and she seemed excited, but it was very weird. And I said, hey, I have all these ideas for my flowers. You're going to do them, right? And she goes, I don't know. I need to think about it. What do you mean you need to think about it? I'm your daughter, and you're a florist. That's a shoo-in. I mean, I'm buying the flowers. You just, and I can pay you money if that's what you want. She goes, no, it's not about the money. I need to talk to the elders. Now, my mom, I call the elders to handle her. She goes to them for everything. She always has. And just through the whole story, you can tell she has. And so they told her that because I was inactive and I was celebrating the holidays and I had lived with my husband before we were married, so that I had lived in sin, that it was a conscience matter, but if it were them, they would not. So to my wedding, nor would they do the flowers. So I was married November 7th of 2009. My mother was not there. My mother did not do my flowers. My dad would have been there. Me and my dad are very, very close. My dad would have been there, but the day before his flight was to leave, his house caught on fire. So he could not be there. So the only people that were there for me were my grandparents and my sister and nephew. All my family lives in Texas, and they couldn't come. So my grandparents were the only ones who were there. My grandpa walked me down the aisle. My mom went up and lit the unity candle with my husband's mother. And my mother did not even call me the day of my wedding. She acts like it never happened. And I got married on a Saturday. On a Monday, my mom came to visit my grandparents because they were still in town for me, and did not say congratulations, didn't even acknowledge the wedding at all. My firstborn son was born, or my firstborn, who was my son, he was born, and my mother was holding him, and she was looking at him, need to hear, it's a shame that your parents are going to die in Armageddon.
Oh.
And I just look at her, and I was like, don't say that. She goes, well, it's the truth. I was like, no, it's not. And I pretty much told her, I don't want to talk religion. Do not talk to me about religion, because what I say will hurt your feelings, and you will cry, and I want my children to know you. And so she's around my children when she can, but as crazy as it is, my mom just moved back to Texas. So my son, he's 3, and he always asks for his Nana. Well, Nana just moved back to Texas because that's where Jehovah wanted her to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about what Jehovah wants.
Right. Exactly. So that's where we're at now. My sister and I are very close. She does not want anything to do with the religion. She is just now starting to be okay and talk about God. That is one thing that I do notice with a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, is that they don't know how to feel about God. They don't know if he's even real because of everything they were taught. And my sister has been out since '93, and she's just now starting to say, well, I think there is a God. And I've never pushed the issue because I'm Christian, and I've never pushed it on her because I know how that is. And being an ex-Jehovah's Witness, I know how that feels. And so for years, though, she didn't want anything to do with God, anything to do with religion. And my brother, he's happily married, lives in Texas, doesn't want anything to do with my mom because he's still scarred and hurt. That's where we're at.
You know, that's the aftermath of the way these things go down. There's something they call karma, and, whether it's real or whether it's just a truism of the universe, things come back to us, and it's a pity and it's a shame, but this is the fruits that are yielded by a lot of these selfish, brainwashed cult members that are in the religion. Certainly not all of Jehovah's Witnesses behave this way, but many of them that do behave this way ultimately yield such lousy fruitages in their family life, among their children. They cast off the people that love them, like when you're wanting your mother to take joy in your wedding and in your, the birth of your children, and then they push you farther away and try to elevate themselves. And it's part of that witness mindset, and it's a pity. But I think the good news, I mean, it's always lovely to end an interview like this on a positive note, and the positive note is Jeana, just from talking to you for the last, 45 minutes or so, I can tell you're an intelligent, well-adjusted person, and you've got a family, you've got children, you've got people around you that love you. And again, to me, that's the success story, is that you escaped intact, and also with your belief system and some faith there, which is always a good thing as well.
Yes, I agree. And I do definitely pray for my mom. Not everybody believes in God, and I understand that, and I get that, and that's fine with me. I'm totally not trying to push my beliefs on anyone, but I genuinely think that God is the one who helped me get out. I think because he saw a seed of doubt on everything I was being taught and cultivated that, because I have never once wanted to go back. I've not been one of those ones like, oh, is it real? Is it real? I don't know. When I left, I was done. I was like, thank you, I'm out. I got out. I skated by, scot-free. It was so easy how I got out. And I think that was God. Mm-hmm. I really do. And no matter, other things have happened. And, my mom tries to, she'll try to throw little things in there, and say, what about when we were attacked by the demons? And I want to tell her so much, well, we're attacked by the demons because we're on a demon cult. That was what was, I can't say that because that's not something that she wants to say to them, because that pushes them further in the direction you don't want them to go, which is to the religion.
Yeah, If there is demon attacks floating around, there's probably more among witnesses than any other group.
Oh, my goodness. And that's one thing, I can honestly say I've felt God's Spirit. I've felt it. I know what it feels to have it, and I know what it feels like not to have it. And I can honestly say the time that I was a Jehovah's Witness, we did not have it. We did not have it at all. We were always struggling. We were praying, and prayers not being answered. It was just all the signs were there that you don't have God's Holy Spirit, and that is exactly what was going on. Now, things have happened, and, I get to talk more about my personal experiences, things, blessings that have happened to me. And my mom doesn't want to hear it, and I don't share because, she doesn't believe. Any blessings I receive are from Satan. So that's the way we leave it. And we're cordial, and, I love her, and she knows that I love her. She doesn't call me. I probably don't call her as much as I can because it hurts. She doesn't want to talk to me either. But I've got so much other love around me. Don't get me wrong, I'll always miss the love from my mom, and I'll miss our close relationship that we once had. But there are other ways that I'm shown love and that I'm healing by what was done to me and how I've been treated.
Right.
So that is my positive, and that's what I'm taking from this and what I've learned.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Jeana, thanks again for your time and for doing the interview. I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to appreciate this and that are going to pick something up and carry it away with them in their own life. And that's one of the things that's rewarding about doing this and about talking about past wounds and past difficult situations, because there's a silver lining there. So thanks again.
Anytime. I've got more stories.
All right. To be continued, right?
Definitely.
Take care, Jeana. Thanks for talking.
No worries. We'll talk to you soon.
The order is rapidly fading, for the times they are a-changing.